Hello, and welcome to the first episode in this podcast journey. Today, we're starting with what I think is one of the deepest questions anyone can ask. What is consciousness? Not where does it come from, not whether animals have it, not whether AI could ever become consciousness. Just, what is it? It sounds like a simple question. After all, you're conscious right now. You're hearing my voice, you're aware of your thoughts, you can feel your body, you can probably picture your surroundings without even looking. Consciousness is the one thing every single one of us experiences every moment we're awake, and yet, science still can't tell us exactly what it is. Think about that for a second. We've mapped galaxies billions of light years away, we've split the atom, we've decoded DNA, we've built machines that can perform billions of calculations every second, but we still don't know why there is something it feels like to be you. Why isn't your brain simply processing information like a computer? Why is there an experience? Why is there an inner world? That mystery is what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness. Let's start with something simple. Imagine you're looking at a red apple. Science can explain what happens. Light reflects off the apple, the light enters your eyes, electrical signals travel through your optic nerve, different parts of your brain process colour, shape, depth and movement. Every step can, in principle, be measured. But here's the question. Where does the redness happen? Not the wavelength of light, not the electrical impulses, the actual experience of red, the feeling, that sensation. No brain scan has ever found red. It finds neurons firing, it finds blood flow, it finds electrical activity, but none of these explain why those processes are accompanied by experience. This brings us to the fascinating idea. Maybe consciousness isn't something that creates the brain, maybe it's something the brain accesses. It's a controversial idea, but one worth exploring. Think of a radio. When you listen to music, you don't believe the radio creates the singer. It receives a signal. If you smash the radio, the music stops. But that doesn't mean the music was created inside the radio, the signal still exists. Could the brain work something like that? Nobody knows. But it's one of many ideas scientists and philosophers continue to debate. Other people argue something different. They believe consciousness emerges enough from complexity. In other words, one matter is organised in a certain way, experience simply appears. But that raised the question, why? Why should arranging atoms differently suddenly create an inner life? How does unconscious matter become conscious experience? Nobody has a definitive answer. Here's another thought experiment. How do you know anyone else is conscious? You assume they are. They laugh, they cry, they speak, they react, but you've never experienced anyone else's consciousness. You've only ever experienced your own. Everything you've ever known about reality has appeared inside your awareness. So this simply means consciousness is the lens through which all reality is experienced. Without consciousness, there is no colour, no sound, no taste, no fear, no love, no memories, no universe, as far as you can experience it. Some researchers believe consciousness is produced entirely by the brain. Others think it may be a fundamental feature of reality, like space-time or gravity. Some even wonder whether consciousness exists everywhere in nature to some degree. These ideas remain highly debated. None has been conclusively proven, and that's what makes this subject so fascinating. As we continue this podcast, we'll explore questions like, could consciousness survive death? Is free will an illusion? What do dreams tell us about awareness? And perhaps the biggest question of all, is consciousness the product of reality? Or is reality in some way dependent on consciousness? For now, I want to leave you with one final thought. Before you can understand the universe, you have to understand the thing that's observing it. You spent your entire life using consciousness, but have you ever really stopped to ask, what is it? So with that, this is the conclusion of my first episode. I'd like to thank you for listening to episode 1. And if this episode made you question something you'd always taken for granted, then we're off to a good start. I'll see you in the next episode where we'll dive deeper into one of the greatest mysteries ever known. Thank you.